All right, well, welcome back to the Linking into Sales Social Selling podcast. I'm Greg Hyer. Unfortunately, Martin Brossman is out again teaching. These funny thing, these people want to learn stuff. I don't know, but he's out there. I think he's actually doing his social media certification program at an NC State. He's teaching this afternoon and this evening. So if any of you are in the Triangle area, definitely check out that program. Also, don't forget check out our social selling course, which is coming up in December. We have a day course and a 2-evening course, which is available. Don't forget to check that out. Just go out to linkingintosales.com to check that out. But today we brought back Kevin Thomas Tully of Sales for Life, and we are going to be discussing the next couple steps in creating a social selling routine based on the infographic they have over at salesforlife.com. And you'll be able to actually link to that from the show notes inside the post on this podcast. So, Kevin, welcome back.
Well, Greg, thanks for having me back. Now, if I were to say that Martin is avoiding me because this is the second time I've been on, and again, it's the second time I've not yet been able to speak with Martin, but we'll just say maybe the next time I'm on, Martin will be able to join us because I'm looking forward to speaking with him as well. But that's not to say that I don't like talking with you because it's always a good conversation when I'm here.
Well, I appreciate that. I trust you. Trust me that Martin is real and he does exist. He's just a very busy man.
I believe it. I believe it.
So
thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming back on. I know that you got a lot of things going on with Sales for Life. A lot of things have come up recently. A lot of discussions around social selling and how important it is to have routines. Of course, every salesperson knows having a routine is absolutely critical for making it through the day, and also helping guide you through the sales process. Every organization should have a basic framework in place, and some of them are a little more filled out. But when it comes to social selling, there are definitely a number of things that you should probably do on a regular basis, especially around the engagement in social or reviewing content, discovering new things, identifying pain points, and things like that. So, today let's take it into the I guess actually, why don't we start with just reviewing the previous 2 steps? That might be a good place to start. So we had talked about last time sharing content, right?
That's correct, and this speaks to our overall routine, which we want you to spend no more than 30 to 60 minutes a day on social. And if you're spending any more of that, if you're spending your whole day on LinkedIn or Twitter or Google Plus or one of the other platforms for social media, number one, you're either a community manager, or number two, you're going to be out of a job pretty soon. Because what you need to do once you have your routine set, once you have everything in place, it should take you no more than 30 to 60 minutes a day to continually share the content, find and engage the people that you want to prospect with, your hot buyers, your hot prospects, make the connections, and to engage in the conversations that are eventually going to lead to those deals that are going to happen more quickly because of the relationships that you build through social media, through social selling, the process of connecting with like-minded individuals, with buyers and sellers that are out there looking for information that you're going to put out there in the form of content at all stages of their buying journey. And that's social selling. Mm-hmm. So just to review the 2 steps that we spoke about last time I was on, step number 1 is finding content to share. And step number 2, very simple, sharing it across your social network. And today we're going to talk about steps 3, 4, and 5, which is 3, looking at who reviewed your LinkedIn profile. Step 4, converting those hot buyers who looked at your LinkedIn profile to first-degree connections. And step 5, we're going to look at the engagement of your content to see what happens with your content when you share it. And Greg, it all boils down to what I like to call the 3 C's of social selling: content, conversation, and conversion. Because content, if you remember back to, if you were old enough as I am, to those old Castrol oil commercials, where they say oil is the lifeblood of your engine. Well, content pretty much is the lifeblood of social selling. Without content, your buyers, your hot prospects, they're going to wither on the vine and die like spoiled fruit.
Mm.
Because the buyer is, and it should be, the primary focus of your social selling efforts. And your primary platform for social selling has got to be LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the epicenter of the social selling universe. Buyers are out there, and they're looking for information. They crave information. Jim Keenan has put out a statistic that I use all the time. 78% of people who use social media outsell their peers who aren't using social. And you think about that for a second. There's 90% of the buying journey is completed without even contacting a salesperson. So those two statistics alone should underscore the importance of using social media to sell. 78% of the people using social media outsell their peers who aren't, and a buyer journey is up to 90% complete before they're even contacting a salesperson.
Yeah, we actually had a discussion a few episodes ago with Eric Quanstrom and Rachel Miller of Pipeliner CRM, and Eric stressed the point that this buyer's journey that internet savvy buyers are actually on and getting to that 50, 60, 70, or 90% of the way through the journey. He stressed that the salespeople have to get into the buying process a lot sooner than where they are. So understanding how to use social, understanding how to identify those folks, and use social listening tactics in order to get into that conversation and help navigate through the buying process or the buyer's journey, not necessarily the buying process itself, but that educational state that you have to take buyers through, so that way they understand the decisions that they're making and can feel confident about the decision that they're making. It is critical that salespeople get into that process earlier rather than later.
Oh, I absolutely agree, Greg. Today's buyer is better informed and they're better educated about your product and your solution before they even contact you. I mean, gone are the days of information asymmetry. That's an outdated practice where the sales transactions were conducted where one party had more information than the other. You think about the typical sales transaction. When everyone hears about sales, they think of buying a car. And prior to the advent of the internet, the purchasing a car was a transaction where the salesperson always held more information than the buyer. They knew what everything cost. There was hardly any availability to do any kind of research. For the buyer would walk in, and all the research was done on the lot when they spoke to a salesperson. And there was the old back and forth where they had to go, well, let me check and see what my manager has to say, or how much is it going to take for me to put you inside of that car today? And I'm not trying to be disparaging to anyone who's in the car sales business, because it is an honorable profession. But today, in Canada, there are dealerships in Toronto, Canada, that got rid of their sales force completely. And why is that? Because the buyers are doing the research online, knowing what make, model, options they want, and are just showing up at the dealership and saying, I want this kind of car with this kind of options, this color, and I want it for this price. So the dealership said, well, why do we even need salespersons anymore? Because the buyer knows what they want. Again, the journey can be up to 90% completed before they even contact a salesperson. And they're going to go back and forth with the sales manager anyway. So why don't we just have the buyer come in, tell us what we want, and we'll just place the order. And those dealerships have been extremely successful.
Oh, yikes! Well, that's not
I know.
That's not good for salespeople at all. But but it does speak to the truth in car sales sometimes. And I've recently purchased a car, and I cannot stand walking into a dealership where somebody does not know more about the car than I do. Or is the history of the line or the history of the company or something. I might be the atypical buyer, but still, I should be able to walk in and they should be able to teach me something about the vehicle, something new, something I would have never known, or been try to amaze me in some particular way. But unfortunately, it is changing quite a bit, and it's pretty sad to see, in some respect, the way some businesses are going. But it's pretty amazing they fired all their salespeople. That's wow. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, well, they felt it would be more profitable, and just based on what's happening with social media. To your point, the 90% is completed. You want to go into, in your car buying experience, you wanted them to learn the additional 10%, and you can extrapolate to what's happening today on social media. A good person is pushing out content that is going to target their buyer or their prospect at all stages of their buying journey. And that content is going to be a key component of providing value. It's got to be continuous. They've got to be a supportive resource toward their buyer. And that content's got to establish trust and build the necessary thought leadership. Take your car buying example, for example. You wanted to learn something about that car, so you were doing your research online before you went into the dealership. What if that car salesman had put out content about that type of car that you were researching and you had come across his blog, or you had come across some tweets that he had put out? Would you have been more likely to go to that particular salesperson at that particular dealership if they were in your area? If they were practicing social listening and had seen that maybe you had been sourcing your question about, okay, well, I'm looking for, and I know you're a high roller, a Bentley, and a late model Bentley, because we know how you are, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Sure. Me and all five of the kids in the Bentley in the back. There we go.
Absolutely. Of course.
Yeah, right.
Of course, you want a good deal because you do have all the kids. But,
right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Here, kids. Here's your college investment.
Yeah. Try not to dig it up too badly. But you understand my point.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I think that if there are any car salespeople out there, you got to understand that there's a huge advantage for you to start using social in order to attract folks to come in and actually start talking to you, and have them come to you rather than sitting inside of a dealership waiting for someone to walk up to the door who, they may be almost ready to make a purchase, but you just happen to be the next person in line who's going to be dealing with those folks. I think if you can, set appointments and things like that and use social in order to do that, I firmly believe, and actually I've been tempted to try out that process, get out of marketing and go back into sales just to try it out, see if it works. But let's talk about for a second. Let's go to step 3 and understanding who has been viewing your LinkedIn profile, because I'm not sure if there's too many car guys out there who are going to be actually looking at somebody's LinkedIn profile prior to an appointment or something like that. But that being said, what should somebody do when somebody who's a second or third degree connection, would view their profile, or how often should you check to see if your profile has been viewed?
Well, you should check that daily. It should be part of your 30 to 60 minutes, and it should be the first thing you do when you wake up after you share content. Who's viewed your LinkedIn profile? You should look at that as your digital voicemail. We have a great debate going on internally in Sales for Life about the efficacy of email and whether that's important enough or whether it's someone else's schedule. But there's one thing that we're united on. We're united on checking who viewed your LinkedIn profile, and reaching out and connecting with that person is of paramount importance. And here's why. If someone has taken the time to look at your LinkedIn profile, that means they're A, interested in you, or B, interested in the content that you've been producing. And that is one of the reasons why, and we had this discussion, you and I, before we started the conversation on air, about having a robust LinkedIn network. 500 connections is the baseline. It's something that any sales professional should strive for as a baseline, not as, okay, I've got 500 connections, now I can relax. Because a more robust LinkedIn network is going to allow your content to be shared across that network, which is then going to allow influencers to like and comment upon your content, which is going to have that content reshared again, which is going to drive people to your LinkedIn profile and have them have people view your LinkedIn profile. Once they view your LinkedIn profile, the easiest way to reach out to that person is through the use of InMail, or you can message them directly should you share a group with them in common. And that is the way that you strike up a conversation. And once you strike up a conversation, you have to tailor a LinkedIn introduction that is not generic, that says something about the person, and that compelling call to action so that person will want to make a connection with you. And there's one thing you should never do, Greg, and I can't emphasize this enough. Do not sell on social media.
Yeah, I fully agree with you there.
And when I say do not sell on social media, people get the question marks floating around their head. But isn't it called social selling? It is called social selling. But I am not going to connect with you, and I'm not going to hard sell you right away. I'm not going to hard sell you at all. There's no adage that says don't propose marriage on the first date. That's if I connect with you, Greg, and then all of a sudden I start pitching your product or my service, or I'm just trying to set an appointment. I don't really know you that well. So my goal is to just find out about you and to start engaging in a conversation. Because what most people don't realize is conversation is the ultimate content. And I'm trying to be a resource to you, the buyer, the prospect, and find out how I can help you. That will naturally flow into an opportunity. If there's an opportunity for me to make a sale, if you're interested in my product or service, that will flow out of the conversation. If not, I'm not going to force it. Where people come into trouble, if they force the conversation, force it to a sale, if they're trying to go into the connect and close mentality, is what I like to call it. And that is the worst thing that someone can do.
Yeah, and actually I had a post. I think you've heard about the post that I had written that social selling is about opening. It's not about closing. So it should be about creating relationships and building the trust, and then eventually getting them through that journey. Now, the part of someone has viewed their profile. What would you suggest as a way for somebody to kind of generate views in their LinkedIn profile? You got any suggestions there?
Oh, sure. The best way to generate views in the LinkedIn profile is, number one, create content and share content, and comment upon other people who have shared content. And number three, respond to people who comment on your content as well, because those are the things that spur conversation, and content leads to conversation, which leads to connection. Those are the 3 C's.
All right, very good, very good. All right, so let's go to step 4 and converting those hot buyers that reviewed your LinkedIn profile to first degree connection. I've had a couple, I've had a few folks. I'll get a few profile views a day, and the second and third degree connections, and some of them I'll go in and I'll check the profile, and then maybe a day or so later they'll come back and check mine again because I know I went and viewed their profile. But what is it that what's really the best approach to converting these folks into first degree connections? What do you think?
Okay. Well, LinkedIn is the equivalent of your digital business card. Okay. Whenever you meet people, you should look forward to digital connection on LinkedIn. And the way that you do this is you open up a LinkedIn network, because the number of connections increase, and when you utilize LinkedIn publishing platform, more people are going to see, they're going to be influenced by it, and share your content. So when you look at someone's profile and someone looks back at yours, there's some genuine interest there. So again, you're going to engage conversation, and as salespeople, the hardest thing to do is to find something to talk about with someone who's new, an buyer and prospect. So I suggest perform a little competitive intelligence. Some people might call it social stalking, but for the generic terms, competitive intelligence. Find out what you can about that buyer. Socially surround them. If they have a Twitter account, follow them on Twitter. If they have a Facebook account, look at their Facebook account, connect with them also on Google+. Socially surround your target buyer, target prospect, learn what you can about them, and then once you have something to talk about, if they're talking about, for example, CRMs, say, I saw that you like using Nimble, for example. I use Nimble too. Here's how do you like it? Start the conversation, engage in the conversation, and then around topic, then you can ask, say, hey, why don't we just connect on LinkedIn? So you can connect on LinkedIn. So then you've taken someone who has viewed your profile, you viewed their profile back, you've socially surrounded them, learned a little bit of information, started a conversation, and then all of a sudden ask for that connection, personalized connection request, and that turned into a connection.
Yeah, I know that I think LinkedIn is getting a little bit tougher to personalize those invite connects because you go through and you look at who's viewed your profile and they give you a little button to actually hit invite and you hit it and it automatically just fires off a canned message that it's unfortunately it's difficult to go back and recreate or personalize those messages. It is sort of unfortunate that LinkedIn is headed that direction, but they want people to get connected there now.
I always call that fast finger syndrome. Whenever I hit the blue button and it sends off one of those impersonal messages, the first thing I'm thinking is, I can't believe that happened. Yeah. So I just quickly follow up with an email that says, I sent personal invitation and I had fast finger syndrome and it sent out the generic one. Please accept my apologies. I hope you'll connect. So far, I have never come across someone who hasn't been gracious enough to say, don't worry about it. It's happened to me before as well. It happens to everybody. You know what I'm saying, Greg? And they always connect after that. So if you want to state the case, apologize for whether it's something that happens with LinkedIn or you just hit the button and you didn't personalize the message, I've yet to run across someone who wasn't gracious enough to accept your connection request.
Sounds like a good strategy tactic there for me. Send out that reply.
Yeah, that's funny. I was thinking that. Yeah, it's just as I was saying that, I thought, well, hey, maybe I should do that all the time. But eventually, you run out of in-mail, so it might get a little expensive.
That's true. Yeah, well, maybe we shouldn't be inviting more than 30 people a month anyway. So let's take a look at step 5, and this, you have check your content engagement. So what does that look like?
Well, LinkedIn is full of great analytics to show that who has actually interacted with your content. And one of the great things about LinkedIn is you can see who's commented on your content, who's liked your content, and those are the types of people you should immediately reach out to and connect with. And why? Because they are showing a genuine interest in either who you are or what you have to say. Now, if you meet your buyer persona, that's great. If they are the types of folks who your product or service would help, absolutely connect with these folks, because that is an opportunity for you to eventually make a sale. Now again, avoid connect and close, avoid the hard sell mentality. Don't look for the quick hit. Again, I believe in love at first sight, but I don't propose marriage at the first date. You've got to listen for the cues and the trigger events in order to move online, offline, because that's when the magic happens.
I agree. Matter of fact, why don't we show real quick here? I'll bring up my screen and show folks what like a couple areas where they can check out where how to look at engagement. Can you see my screen there?
I can. Yes.
Okay. Let's see and present to everyone. Okay, good. So we have kind of give an example. So we're looking at my activity stream here. And if you scroll down, and you'll get down about maybe about a quarter of the way, you'll see who's viewed your updates. It's in the right-hand column for those listening on the audio podcast, and you'll see that your updates that you have shared, if they're they'll show like the last 18 or 20 updates that you've shared, and show you that like for example my daily update that I have about social selling and marketing. that 68 people viewed that this morning. One person liked it, and that one person was Scott Miller, who's the CEO of Social 123. Which is a kind of an interesting social lead generation solution out there. Have you spoken to Scott out there?
I have not had the opportunity to speak with Scott, but I will do so absolutely after this call.
Yeah, so he's a good guy. What's nice about looking at these kind of updates is that you can see how many people in your first degree, which got 22, and then your second degree network actually got a look at it. And second degree, the 46 views that showed up were probably because Scott liked it. So folks in his first degree connection saw that they liked the update, and they went and took a look at it. There's probably a few more in here, and as another daily update, and here we go. We got another one. Marketers' view on social selling in learnings, and this is a LinkedIn blog post that I thought was pretty good. 126 views of first degree connections and 15 views on second degree, but someone in the second degree actually liked it. It didn't get it. It was probably his first degree connections that ended up showing up there. So, but this is the kind of engagement. If someone likes it, they're going to show you who it is, and you can actually literally go to this person's profile and take a look. And he's in Akron, Ohio, and he works for the Ohio Lottery Commission. He's got 500 connections too. Oh, look at that. But that kind of gives you an idea of checking some of your content, as well as I think there's another area that you can take a look at. So if you're posting content, let me switch back here now. If you're posting content using LinkedIn's long form posts, then you actually get an email, I think, every week from them, I believe, that shows you the rundown on how much content or how your content's been doing with views and likes and comments and things like that. So it's definitely worth checking out.
Absolutely, and you made some very good points, Greg. The buying cycle, it's an endless loop. Shared content leads to shared conversation, which leads to conversion, which eventually is going to lead to a sale. And since content has the most profound effect upon buyer conversion, you have to ensure that your content is aligned with your buyer's needs and is specific to each stage of your buying process. Yep. But the one question that you have to ask, it's a fundamental question before any action you take on LinkedIn: does your buyer really care? Because it's 5 times easier to convert and sell to a current client than it is to generate new business. So if you're making a change to your profile, does your buyer really care? I mean, does your buyer care that you crushed quota? Does your buyer care that you made club 5 years in a row? No, make your profile buyer-centric. What does your buyer care that you're putting out this piece of content? Before you hit send, does your buyer care? When you're having that conversation with the prospect, does your buyer care? Are they going to be interested in what you have to say? If you can't answer yes, don't hit send.
Yeah, so that's a good point. You're right. You got to be creating, customer-centric information. I think we called that way back in the day when I was in retail, customer centricity. I don't know who came up with that name, but it was a good name. So being customer-centric or buyer-centric is also very important when sharing content out there. I think that's a good point. But it also goes into establishing you as a professional and your professional brand, and how well are you enveloping yourself in your company's brand too. So this is actually an interesting perspective that you may see as well. Salespeople, they have a tendency to jump ship every year and a half, 18 months to 2 years. Maybe this approach to social selling would actually help retain salespeople more, unless salespeople just continuously need a new challenge every 18 to 24 months. What do you think?
Well, it's funny because the average employee in North America changes jobs every 2.5 years. And as you said, the salespeople, they're notorious for job hopping much more quickly and kind of, they'll chase the money. Let's be honest. I mean, if someone has a better and easier compensation plan, then they're going to go. I think that once you establish a personal brand as a sales professional, it might be actually easier to move the brand to another company, whereas before at a social media company, you were tied to that company, and your brand was wrapped up into what the company was pushing out in terms of content, because it was all hard form, leave behind, leaflets, brochures, even CDs. But right now, you have the opportunity as a salesperson to build your own brand. And I think that many companies who are realizing this, they are a little wary because they understand that the salesperson is out there interacting on behalf of themselves, but on behalf of the company also. And it's a delicate balance, because the brand that the salesperson is building has to be aligned with the brand that the company is building, but at the same time, it's independent of the company as well.
Very true. Very true. All right. Well, perfect. Let's go review real quick what the next the steps 3, 4, and 5 were. We had number 3 was review who looked at your LinkedIn profile, and we can very easily do that. Just LinkedIn puts in little flag notifications on how to do that. You had step 4 at convert hot buyers that reviewed your LinkedIn profile to a first degree connection. We talked about how to do that, which was send out a message, try to personalize it. Even a neat little side trick there of following up with the accidental hot finger excuse. And then in step 5 is check your content engagement, and that goes to looking at that a module on the right-hand column of your activity feed to see how many people have been engaged. And if somebody's liked it, definitely reaching out to somebody and taking a look at that. So we're going to have you come back on again in a few weeks, and we'll talk about some more steps, probably 6, 7, 8, and maybe even 9, possibly. I guess it's through the green section. But don't forget, check out the infographic. Everyone in the blog post, come out to Linking into Sales, and you'll find the link there to the 12-step social selling routine. Kevin, thank you very much for joining me again for this episode 51 of the Linking into Sales podcast.
Greg, it was my pleasure. And once again, we're talking about the 3 C's of social selling: content, conversation, and conversion. And it was my pleasure, and I appreciate you having me on once again.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for coming on. And everybody, don't forget to come in and join our LinkedIn group on LinkedIn. And you can find that just by searching for Linking into Sales. Follow us on Twitter. Add us to your Google Plus circle as well. Really easy to find us. Come on Facebook. You can find us out there too. And subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a review. You can email me directly at greg.hyer@linkingintosales.com if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, hate mail. Send it to me. I'll take it. And of course, have a great week and keep on selling. You've been watching and listening to the Linking into Sales podcast using social media to support the sales cycle.